Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Today, we're going to be talking about the very first issue of Garo here on Gaijin. Hey, GAIJINGUYGERS. Welcome to Gaijin Guy's very special SHIRATO Sanpei episode featuring Garo #1, the groundbreaking comic magazine and home to many avant-garde comic artists who push the art form in new directions. This is the very first issue of the revolutionary comic mag Garo. The cover design is based on the design of the Asahi Journal, a very hip, literary-leaning mag. Happen to have a copy here to compare. You can see, almost exactly the same. On the cover, it says Gekkan, Monthly Manga GARO. And number 1, 1964, September, first issue. It says it's going to come out every month on the first of the month. It also lists a collection of 4, SHIRATO Sanpei stories, which we will get to. And it also lists here Uchiyama Kenji's Dobutsu Hyakuwa, 100 Tales of Animals. The title's a little bit different on the inside, but we'll talk about him as well. So looking at this cover, what does it tell you? You have to look beyond the dismemberment and the disemboweling to see that you have 4 armed samurai being taken apart by a very determined old fellow. We've got a series of action lines which for the most part seem to be radiating from the old man. That's one quick old dude. It's based on the first story, Zashiki Warashi, which has been lauded for its depiction of disposable elderly. This theme, along with the class depictions, shows up again in other works as well. What this cover tells me is that this magazine is not for the kiddies. The blood is right there in color for all to see. Before we dig in, I want you to know that this is a printed copy from the Fujita collection. Thanks as always to Mr. Fujita for lending me some books. We also have some books from Mr. Harada, which I will be kind of referencing. But this is not an original. It's all these lines are copied from the whatever copy this was made from. So all these, everything here is not really on this copy. This is a new copy ordered from a home page which no longer exists. So unfortunately, we cannot order this copy anymore. Right. So now a little background about Okamoto Noboru, aka Kurokawa Tetsu, aka Kurokawa Shin, aka SHIRATO Sanpei. His father was Okamoto Toki, a painter and socialist who worked with Kitazawa Rakuten on Tokyo Puck, the legendary comic magazine that inspired many early 20th century mangaka and artists such as Tezuka Osamu and others. Shirato also aspired to be a painter at first, and so did manga under a different name, and that name of course was SHIRATO Sanpei. He made a big splash with the kashihon rental comic here, Ninja Bugeicho, Kagemaru Den, the legend of Kagemaru, sometimes translated as Ninja Scrolls or Ninja Secret Art Scrolls or something like this. Basically, this work caused the ninja manga explosion that rocked the 1960s and carried on in waves until the present. The publisher for Bugeicho was Sanyosha. Sanyosha started by a man named Nagai Katsuichi, and he put out several kashihon hits by Shirato, by Mizuki Shigeru and others who had made the jump from kamishibai, the paper theater. See my zine, Mangaverse 5.0, for more details on kamishibai. So people who made the jump from kamishibai to kashihon, which are rental comics. And I have a couple of rental comics here. You can see that usually there'll be like some rental stamps, the rental shop's name. There's going to be a piece of paper here that has numbers of like member numbers and such like this. You can see like the comic has been lent out many times. It's a clear cover has been put on to protect it. The parts have been taped up. Again and again, there's stains, all kinds of damage. It's just passed through so many hands. So, but there's a whole bunch of comics from the kashihon era which don't get a lot of attention, and that's one of the reasons I started this series, is to tell more people about kashihon. So this Nagai Katsuichi, he left Sanyosha, which soon folded, and then he formed Seirindo. Seirindo is translated as like Blue Forest Hall or something like this. And Seirindo created Garo in 1964, mostly to be a platform for what would be Shirato's life work, which I have here, Kamuiden, Legend of Kamui. And this is actually the very first, not this issue itself, but this is actually the very first Japanese comic that I ever owned, was Kamuiden. It took me forever to figure out what this kanji meant because I didn't have a dictionary that you could look the kanji up. I just flipped through the damn thing until I found that kanji, and then I realized it was legend. So I would like to tell the story about that sometime, but that's going to be in another video. Garo was also a platform for several kashihon mangaka who were starting to lose their livelihood as kashihon's popularity started to wane. It was already on the way out, you know, by the time we hit the 60s, but Mizuki Shigeru, Tsuge Yoshiharu, Kojima Goseki of Lone Wolf and Cub fame. Kojima used the name Suwa Sakae, which he took because he had an exclusive contract with Hibari Shobo. And so these guys and others owed their rediscovery and discovery to Nagai, Shirato, and Monthly Manga GARO. So in 1964, when GARO was first published, when this issue was published, it was a very busy time for Shirato. The previous year, he won the Kodansha's Children's Manga Award on Sasuke. Okay, I'm going to take a look at that. Sasuke, about a very young ninja. He won the award for this and for his Seton's Wild Animal series, which was there was a naturalist named Seton, and he wrote a whole bunch of journals about animals, and it was translated into Japanese, and Shirato was a big fan. So both of these, Sasuke and the Seton's Wild Animals, especially the grizzly bear episode, are advertised in early issues of Garo, as this same publisher, Seirindo, was putting out kashihon versions. So this is the kashihon version of Sasuke. So kashihon versions of each. Sasuke started in the Monthly Mag Shonen from 1961. This is the same magazine where Tetsuan Atomu, Mighty Atom, and Tetsujin 28 Go, Gigantor, were serialized, and then was also serialized partly in these pull-out, mini-sized Furoku comics. I have videos on early issues of Shonen and on Furoku, so please check those out. Seirindo started publishing the kashihon version of Sasuke in 1962, and that series would get an animated version in 1968. But the very first ninja anime series was Shirato's Shonen Ninja Kaze no Fujimaru, Ninja Boy Fujimaru of the Wind, which started in June 1964, right before, just a few months before this came out. And that story either came from a comic that Shirato wrote called Kaze no Ishimaru, Ishimaru of the Wind, which itself is based on a series called Koga Bugeicho, Ninja Art Scrolls of the Koga, or Ninja Senpu, which is, I have a copy right here, Ninja Senpu, Ninja Whirlwind. By the way, this is one of my favorite Shirato illustrations. I just love it. It's got a mystical quality to it, and a very, stark, strong action lines. Lots of boulders being destroyed in Shirato comics. But depending on what you read, it's either based on this one or Koga Bugeicho. So I haven't established the facts of the case yet. So maybe that will go on as I read more Shirato. I'll figure that out. In the same month, June 1964, Shirato created his production company. Here's the logo, Akame Red Eye Production. Regarding Akame, Shirato tried to avoid the hierarchy of a master-apprentice type situation, and in a 1967 interview, he said that at that time he had 0 assistants, 7 collaborators, and 2 family members helping out, likely his 2 brothers, Okamoto Tetsuji and Okamoto Shin. Among those collaborators were Kojima Goseki, Kusunoki Shohei, Koyama Haruo, Tsuge Yoshiharu, Hirata Hiroshi, and others. Also involved were his wife, Lee Haruko, and sister Okamoto Matsuko. So to keep Garo and Akame afloat, Shirato worked on several magazine stories. In 1964, he had one-offs in Shonen Book, Shonen, Shonen Sunday, Shonen Magazine, Boken O. By the way, the Boken O story was one of a series of ninja stories by top mangaka and included in a collection 10 ninja battles. Shirato's was battle number 7. This deserves its own review video, so look for that in the future. At the same time, he was doing one-offs and short serials in Seirindo's monthly kashihon anthology, Ninpo Hiwa. Secret tales of the ninja, or Ninpo, way of the ninja, right? In which he and Mizuki and Asua were featured. I'll show you an interesting side connection between Garo and Ninpo Hiwa in a little bit. So in the next year, while Kamuiden was continuing in Garo, and the second act of Sasuke, we started right here, second act, was still going on, he would start his Watari series, which is one of his longer and more popular series, and Kamui Gaiden, Kamui Side Story, which was translated in America as Legend of Kamui, but it's actually, the main series is Legend of Kamui, and this is Kamui Side Story, Kamui Gaiden, Gai meaning outside, legend. And this is not a sequel or a prequel. What it is, it's a side story, stories that happened alongside the main story in Kamuiden, but didn't fit into the narrative. So there's some conjecture about how much the collaborators contributed to each series, but there are definite clues that Kojima and brother Tetsuji were a huge help to him in getting all the pages out on time. Apparently, another reason Shirato started Akame was not just for the help, but he also wanted more control over his pages. Some manga publishers were notorious for not giving back originals and for making reprints without paying any royalties, and Shirato was not having it. For a bit more extra context, Garo came out in 1964, so this is 3 years away from the first seinen magazine, Weekly Manga Action, which I made a video about. Please check that out. And 4 years away from the very first issue of Big Comic, Monthly for Men, started by 5 huge manga legends, including Shirato, Tezuka, Ishimori, also known as Ishinomori, Mizuki, and Saito Takao. After Saito Takao passed just a few months ago, Shirato was the last living founding creator, but now he's gone too just last month, followed soon after by his younger brother Tetsuji. He will be missed, and it's kind of sad. I started making this video, writing the script and doing the research while Shirato was still alive, and when he passed, it became even more urgent and vital for me to get this video done, and I'm sorry it's taken so long, but here we are. So that's enough background. You ready to dig in? Let's do it. Let me just say that I owe an enormous debt to the Shirato fan site by asa8.com by blogger PostOther. Sometimes he goes under the name Other Post. The list of Shirato works with dates and reprints was invaluable for the research needed for this video. The stories in this and the next 2 issues were previously published in mainstream manga mags and were used as filler until Shirato and crew had Kamuiden ready to go. So we won't see the first chapter of Kamuiden until issue 4, although it is early advertised as showing up in issue 3. So let's jump in. We don't have much in the way of advertisements. We have an article on Shirato's manga by a guy named Sato Tadao. We have the contents. And like I said, this is not an original. This is a copy. That's why it's in black and white and kind of printed a little bit poorly, when this is obviously supposed to be in color. And this is the first story, Zashiki Warashi. It is available in print, in color, like all over the place. But it was first published in 1963 in an issue of Boy's Life about an older ninja of the lower ninja class who fakes his death in order to escape his wretched circumstances. He's being used as like fodder to spring traps and is about to be thrown away after losing a leg. So the story comments on class because you have the upper level jonin, upper level ninja, and then the gaining, the lower level ninja. So it comments on that, but also on the treatment of seniors who have outlived their so-called usefulness. So Zashiki Warashi itself is a kind of yokai. So like a goblin type creature. It's sometimes mischievous, but often helpful. This guy is Danzuri no Kosuke. After he fakes his death and escapes from his ninja village, and of course tons of assassins are sent after him, but he hides out in a village and decides to help out this one boy who lacks confidence, but thinks he's azashiki warashi. And so him and his family, they leave out food for him, and he kind of secretly helps them out. He's the only one that sees him, so adults also start to believe that he's a supernatural creature. So he's using his ninja stealth and dexterity to get that done. It's a really nice story. It's no wonder that Shirato had it reprinted so many times. In fact, in this issue right here, this reprint, this is Shirato Sanpei's short story selection by the man himself, and it's featured in this one as well, quite early on. So this is a really nice volume to have, so just to let y'all know. Yeah, so that was Danzuri no Kosuke. Kosuke is a name that he uses quite a bit, actually, in his stories. The next story in this is Akai Take, Red Bamboo. First published in a 1962 issue of Shonen. It's about a field of bamboo that bleed when cut. The story is that when a regional government demanded more tribute after a plague of locusts had devastated the locals' crops, they planned a rebellion. Unfortunately, word spread to the governor, who had scores of people executed in that field. It goes on to tell another version of the story. Kosuke, a local samurai whose father and older brothers didn't approve of his love of his puppy and wanted him to toughen up and take his swordplay more seriously. They can't convince him to do so, so they stab his dog, and after he nurses it back to health, his father throws the poor puppy off the cliff into the river, and of course little Kosuke dives in after it. He lives in the woods, wild and free, with a pack of dogs, until the new vicious regional governor takes over the area. Kosuke's family try to fight back along with the peasantry, but are all killed. Kosuke reluctantly takes the fight to the governor's men and leads them to a bamboo field where they think they have him trapped. I'm cutting to the edge, to the end. So, and then they open fire on the boy. But he emerges from the field completely unscathed, and while the army itself has been decimated. The trick was that the bamboo were so thick and hard that the bullets ricocheted and bounced back, killing the whole army. So Shirato loves giving these scientific explanations for what appears to be mystical ninja powers. He also explains that the red bamboo is caused by certain kinds of bacteria. Way to kill the dream, man! So following this is Yo-nin. Yo is another way to say like light, like sunlight, and a nin is ninja, of course. So ninja of the light, I suppose. It's about an assassination plot using the double of a trusted doctor to a lord. They kidnap the doctor, and the ninja takes his place. However, the ninja of the lord finds the kidnapped doctor and brings him back to foil the plot. However, somehow, the lord is poisoned anyway, and because the doctor is actually a second double. So they doubled down on their doubles. And so is another ninja. Next we have Kugutsu First published in January 1964 in Shonen Magazine. Kugutsu, also pronounced kaidai, means marionette. You know, when it's kanji, it can also be pronounced kaidai. In this story, there's a samurai on the run, and he runs into a puppeteer, this guy here, who uses a giant monkey puppet to hide him. And the samurai learns how to use the monkey puppet to do a little show. It gets him into the castle where he performs a show for the Lord and his retainers. And then he gets revenge by murdering that Lord. The samurai never realizes that the puppeteer himself actually was hired to murder that Lord, and the puppeteer used him. So basically, he was, the samurai was also a puppet. So he was the one pulling the strings. And then the Lord who hired him tries to get rid of him, but he's quite crafty. And he realizes from now on he can bribe that Lord until the Lord passes away. All right, so that's the end of the Shirato stories. This is a serialized story written by Uchiyama Kenji, who I said was the translator of the Seton's Wild Animals, that journal series. This is Dobutsu Hyaku Monogatari, so it's a little bit different title. Basically the same meaning, 100 stories of animals or 100 tales of the animals. The story follows a young boy and girl and their encounter with a big game hunter. Okay, next we have Mizuki Shigeru and his little ninja guy here. This is Furo Fushi no Jutsu, the immortality technique. It also features the Nezumi Otoko, the rat man from Gegege no Kitaro, and he keeps annoying the ninja, telling him, why didn't you pick an easier job? Being a ninja is so tough. And later, the ninja runs into some older fellows, and these older fellows said that they were young just a short while ago until they suddenly aged after seeing too many M. Night Shyamalan movies. No, I'm kidding. Then they don't know why they've aged. And so the ninja is hired to get to the bottom of the sudden aging and catches the rat man, like, sucking the youth, inhaling it from others. And so to kind of trick him, he compliments him and says, oh, you have such a beautiful young voice. And then he said, if you get even more youthful voice, your voice is going to be even more beautiful. And so there's some anachronistic jokes about a popular singer also stuck in there. But the rat man goes into a hotel, a ryokan or something like this, and oyado is what it says, oyado, which is basically a hotel. And he inhales the youth of a bunch of different people, and he goes too far until he's a baby, which makes him a lot easier to capture by the ninja. Yes, easily captured. And he doesn't fix the problem, but they feel like that they've gotten their revenge. Okay, up next we have Unabara no Ken, Seaside Sword, Part 1. It says Part 1. This is the first serialized story that we have in Garo. There's a wandering samurai who sees a ninja attacking a girl and saves her, killing the ninja. Oh, before I should mention, this is again Suwa Sakae. So this is actually Kojima Goseki. And you can see in this style, he's actually trying to, not the word, what's the word I'm looking for? Evince a Shirato type, a little bit more Tezuka manga-like style. So we know that his works are a lot more Gekiga style, but in this case, his work is not easily recognizable. And this, I have to mention that this story takes place in Amakusa. It says Amakusa-jima, but Amakusa, which is in Kyushu. It's part of Kumamoto where I live, and I'm always excited about links to my town. Amakusa is a beautiful port town. If you've ever read One Piece and you see these tall islands, you know, like just emerging from the ocean, he was inspired, the creator of One Piece, was inspired by the islands of Amakusa, which are similar to that. So yeah, that creator, Oda Ichiro, is also from Kumamoto. And now there are several official One Piece statues scattered across our prefecture. So anyway, the samurai later, he mentions that, you know, he kind of regrets not helping out that lady. He was maybe being a little bit self-focused. And we learned that the lady is a retainer of a young lord who we see at the very beginning. This young lord who has left Edo or Tokyo to escape his enemies, and that ninja assassins are scouring the countryside looking for him. And in the very last panel, there's the Lord, and he's about to be bitten by this scary snake. To be continued. So, yeah, good stuff. Okay, and then we have another text, another prose story. This is Mokichi, a light-hearted story about a lazy but clever country boy, written by Lee Haruko, Shirato's wife, who he met when he was in a puppet theater. And it's illustrated. These illustrations are by his little sister, Okamoto Matsuko, who is a children's book illustrator. So we have that story. Okay, and then we have the final page. There's a call for people to send in things for the Reader's Corner, stories, art, whatever, and then the editors will send those people something special from this publisher, Seirindo, probably comics or comic pages. The message from the editor is as follows. Just like it says on the cover, Garo includes a collection of Sanpei works, and so there will be over 100 pages of Sanpei story every month. And from issue 3, we're planning to start a new and ambitious long-form series, so be sure to look out for that. Of course, they're talking about the debut of Kamuiden, which wouldn't actually begin until issue 4. So this is like a artist profile. He used this a lot, this illustration of summer Shirato and winter Shirato for his self-portrait. It's a profile of the man and the ninja boom. But the next 3 issues of Garo, follow a very similar pattern. You've got Sanpei stories, and then you have like Kugutsugaishi, and you have stories by other creators again. There's Unabara no Ken Part 2. Already, you can see like this character is more like the Kojima type character, while the young character still has a little bit of the Shirato early type of design. You've got Mizuki Shigeru, and you have this guy. This is Kusunoki Shohei. So Kusunoki Shohei, kind of a tragic story. He did publish in Garo several years, but he passed away at the very young age of 30. And there's a fan page, actually, online, which is like a tribute page to him. I'm glad that he has some fans because it's kind of sad. But, so we also have the 100 Animal Tales. Just a quick flip through of these. I don't think I'm going to do separate episodes of these. This has the Sugaru no Shi, Death of Sugaru, which is another one which Shirato likes to reprint a lot. I really like this kind of mohawk having ninja guy. He's really got a lot of character. But this is, I mean, there's not a lot going on in terms of story, but it's just they can't figure out why everybody's dying. This is another story which, like I said, gets reprinted a lot. It's a good one. There's, oh, you have, what's this now? Oh yeah, this is a good one. Oni, the devil. And I want to actually talk about this series, of this story another time. So we're just going to flip through. Quick flip through. Tsunakatsu. It's like Sandstorm. But his work just gets more and more dynamic and more exciting. And there's always like a little twist. There's always something. The secret arts always have some secret. We have Mizuki Shigeru making another appearance. And this is Kusunoki Shohei again. And this is an interesting feature. Manga classroom or manga class. And it's not a lot of visuals. It's mostly explaining like what tools and then in later chapters how to use those tools. Here's another series by a guy named Doya Ippei. And then there's Suwa Sakae, who we know is Kojima Goseki, finishing out that. We have some readers' art. Okay, we're going to flip to the last one, Flippity Flip. And this one's important because this is the first time the story Kamuiden shows up. And I was kind of, by my memory, I remembered this big, hairy creature, and I'm not sure what he signifies. It's something that I've decided to go through Kamuiden. There's a lot of nature and a lot of like ties between the natural world and the world of humans. One thing I neglected to mention, one of the stories here, the early stories, this one, Musashi. This is the story of a second Musashi. So there were two Musashi, apparently. And Musashi also spent time in Kumamoto. This story takes place at not the village, but like the town at the foot of the castle, Jokamachi, which still is an interesting part of Kumamoto City. It's got its own character. It's definitely a unique place, which I like to check out once in a while. So I was kind of hoping the little boy Kamui would show up in this one, but he doesn't show up quite yet. So I think that's going to happen in the next part of the story. Though I remember how shocking this particular scene was with the crucifixion and the stabbing through the body and neck, and just wow, that was That was kind of shocking. That stuck with me after many years. And then you have, see now, it's already very Kojima Goseki. The way he's drawing this woman is, he's getting away from the Shirato type design. And it's getting more and more to be his own typical look, which is, yeah, it's a good thing. You know, he probably felt he had to do it at the beginning, but maybe they felt later that it wasn't as important. And then we have a story by Mizuki about cat ninjas and how there's this older ninja guy and the cats are his pets, but then he realizes he's the pet. And then we have part 3 of Kusunoki Shohei's story, Sengan or Senmaru. I'm not sure exactly how to read that, but and then there's the second part of the manga drawing course, and this one is more a little bit about technique, and basically says a lot of things about reading a lot and drawing a lot. So that's Garo. So the first few issues of Garo did not sell well. They did not sell well. And many were sent back. But what Nagai and Seirindo did was to cut them up and repackage the Shirato content into a special, remember I told you about Nimpo Hiwa? You can see the size difference here. They repackaged it into a special, a very special edition of Nimpo Hiwa. Nimpo Hiwa Bessatsu, you know. Bessatsu is like separate issue or special issue. And as soon as I found out that they had done that, I tracked down a copy on an auction site. The copy didn't have a cover, so I made this very impromptu cover. I'd like to make a better one with larger paper. And because I don't feel like I'm gonna track down a issue of Garo #1 anytime soon, but this has pages from the original Garo 1, 2, and 3. See, there's a Kaitake and Zashiki Warashi in color. And yeah, so it's in order. It's like stories from issue 2, then issue 3, and then issue 1. What you can see is like when the issue flips over, the page numbers go from like 96 to 3, or what's the other one? Here. Come on here, buddy. 98 to 3. But I feel like I'm happy to have an actual part of Garo history here. I got this pretty cheap. With the cover, of course, it's more expensive. For me, I just wanted these interior pages to have. So just wanted to tie that in at the end, okay? And say that I'm very grateful to you guys for following the video. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends that are into this kind of thing about our channel, and also tell me in the comments the kind of stuff you'd like to see. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.